How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream on the channel. I just want to apologize, first of all, for no face cam today. I've been trying for 20 minutes to set up my camera. It's been having some technical difficulties. So I do apologize for that. But as always, you guys are here for the content, for the alpha, for the knowledge, rather than the face cam. So hopefully you guys are fine with that. Smash the likes on the stream if you're just tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you being in the stream today. The market looks a little bit boring. Okay, Bitcoin and Ethereum both up, but less than 1% today. But whilst it is pretty boring, again, we're seeing another situation where Ethereum is slightly outperforming Bitcoin. For me, that is a good sign because things haven't been like that for a while in crypto. It was only maybe a few months back, Bitcoin would be up 1 or 2%, Ethereum would be down a few percent. So to see Ethereum slightly outpacing Bitcoin here, for me, it fills me with confidence that when we do get that next big wave of liquidity coming into the market, it will really benefit Ethereum as opposed to Bitcoin. And, I've been talking a lot with the VIPs in the Discord and voice chats lately about kind of ETH BTC and this kind of ratio between the two. And it really wouldn't surprise me if Bitcoin pumps to 120. And by the time Bitcoin hits 120, Ethereum's already at 4K, 5K or higher, right? And that's a massive difference. That's like a 2x on Ethereum, but only a 20% pump on Bitcoin or a 15% pump on Bitcoin. And that's the type of difference I think we're going to see from here on in is kind of, Bitcoin up 20%, Ethereum up 80 or 90% on that same move. So that's really, really good for altcoins. Obviously, not a great deal is happening today, but we are still showing steadiness. The fact that we're hovering around all-time highs without crazy volatility, to me, that kind of shows we are going to have another move up, because if we were truly like topping out here, people would be panicking. People would be selling, but there isn't a lot of sell pressure right now. People are kind of just playing the game of wait and see. And, despite the weekly close not being, as amazing as it could have been, it was still, very much a good weekly close. Okay. Like when you look at the chart, you can see there was a big amount of resistance around kind of 104.4, 0.5, something like that. And, Bitcoin still managed to have a really, really positive weekly close. And yeah, I think moving forward, we are aiming for that next big level, which is obviously all-time highs, 109K, something like that. If we get past 109K, I think we're aiming for this macro kind of resistance line. And that stems back a very long time. And, it's quite funny. This is probably one of the most obvious things on a chart, but a lot of people aren't even aware of it. It stems all the way back to 2017, and it's basically marked every single major high in Bitcoin's history. It marked, obviously, the 2017 high where it started. It marked the two highs in 2021, the April and the November high. Despite a lot of people calling in November for 100K, it didn't line up with the trend line, right? With the resistance. And where did we find our resistance? We found it exactly at that trend line. Same thing happened in 2024 and 2025. Loads of people were calling for 150K, 200K. Where did we find our resistance? It was at that exact trend line, or at least like 1% away from it, which is basically on it, right? You're never going to be exact, but a 1% or a 2% move away from the trend line, that really validates it for me. And if that trend line was to get hit, let's just say in July, we'd be looking around that 120K mark. That mark I've been constantly mentioning as the next level on this pump. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm targeting for Bitcoin, is maybe a move up to 120. But in that same period of time, altcoins are going to drastically outperform Bitcoin, and we're going to get much better returns on the altcoin market than we are on Bitcoin. And that's been something that hasn't always been the case in the last year or so. Okay. So, yeah, I think we could be seeing all-time highs any day now, realistically, guys. I really do. But get your questions in, get your comments in. As always, these are my highest conviction altcoins right now, and you should allocate sensibly. The blue chips are the ones to go heavy in. The low caps are the ones to go light in. The mid caps are the ones to kind of go in the middle. If you want to see what the VIP gems are, obviously hit that link in the description. Sign up to the best group in crypto, 24/7 active Discord community, where I'm sharing my real-time buy and sell alerts instantly with you guys. Whenever I buy something, I share it with you. And I've said many times, I'm looking to load up as much as I can in the altcoin market before Bitcoin hits 109K. Once Bitcoin hits 109K, I will be easing off the buying. Basically, I'll just be getting into more short-term positions like trades, meme coins, crap coins, low caps, those types of things, right? But between now and then, between now and Bitcoin hitting 109K, my big focus is to stack as much as I can in those quality mid caps, those quality mid caps. And there's one new mid cap that I have recently bought, which I'm trying to buy as much of it as I can in the next couple of weeks. If you're in the VIP, you know which mid cap that is. Obviously, I'm not going to name it, but that is the one I'm focusing on right now. I want to stack as much of that as I can in the coming weeks. Obviously, before Bitcoin hits 109K. Once it hits 109, I'm probably going to ease off the gas and just kind of sit there and let my altcoin bags ride to the moon, essentially. But these are the types of coins I'm focusing on stacking right now. The mid caps, I pretty much already stacked all of my blue chips. I'm really happy with my Suie, my Casper, my Tau. Now I'm putting the focus on the mid caps. Once I've finished with the mid caps, then I'll move to the low caps. So we're kind of working our way down in terms of our focus on our emphasis. Emphasize your conviction plays, get those done first, get those bags packed first. Once you've done that, then move to the mid caps. Once you've done that, then move to the low caps, the quality ones, if there are any, like Peak. And then once you've done those, then you can move to the memes. Okay, that is the strategy. Load your conviction always first. That is the priority. So, green market across the board, but nothing special. I think we're going to start seeing very special things in the coming days, guys. Like, it could be a matter of just a couple days and you start seeing these crazy days again where, your portfolio is up 10, 20, 30% literally on the day. But right now, it's just kind of waiting around. Which ones? Just put it in the title. Well, you clicked on the video to see which ones, right? So it worked. I'm not going to put the entire content of my live stream in the title because then no one will click on the live stream. they'll just read the title. So I need an engaging, captivating title so that people will actually watch. But please as well, guys, let me know in the chat. Is the audio all good? Let me know. I'm using a different mic today. Hey, Archie, what are my thoughts on Hippo? Okay, if you don't know, guys, Hippo is a meme on Suie. Binance announced it as alpha project and is already on futures. Could it be the beta play for Suie and OG meme for Suie? Thank you for your time. No problem, man. So I think there are some really excellent plays on the Suie ecosystem. All right, I want to be clear about that. There's some really good opportunities to essentially leverage your bets on Suie with the beta plays. So if you don't want the maybe 3 to 6x that Suie could provide, you can simply buy the beta plays and drastically outperform that. And that's a great option. For me, I'm already up 4x on Suie. So I'm in no rush to chase extra risk on the Suie ecosystem. My plan is to hold my Suie bags for the rest of the bull run and sell them. Probably I will be up 20x by the time I sell. If I'm up 4x already, all I need is another 5x, and that's a 20x on my position, right? And that's like my average buy. My lowest buy was at 70 cents. My average is around $1. So let's just call it 4x. I mean, it's 3.9x. You know, some people sometimes they kind of get annoyed if I say 4x when it's a 3.9x, but let's just round numbers up, right? I'm up 4x essentially on Suie. So there's no need for me to chase added risk with the Suie ecosystem. But with that said, there are some excellent positions to leverage your bets. Okay, if you're bullish on Suie, you don't want to buy the token, fear not. You can buy some of the ecosystem plays. And Hippo would be a bit of a risky one for me. I wouldn't be going heavy into this one. The chart doesn't look the greatest. The price action for me on Hippo was always a bit weird. At times when Suie was pumping a lot, Hippo wasn't really pumping. So the price action is a little bit weird, maybe a bit manipulated. I don't know. But my favorite Suie ecosystem play is Walrus in terms of its quality and its risk to reward. You know, maybe Suie does a 5x, Walrus could do a 10x. So you're essentially doubling the ROI on Suie, I think, with Walrus. The all-time chart looks really nice and organic, and it's a quality storage project on Suie. This is going to be the biggest storage project in crypto eventually, I think. But again, I don't have a position because I'm already stacked on Suie. So it doesn't really make sense to me logically to sell my Suie for a Suie beta play when I'm already up a ton. If that makes sense to people, right? It's all about your context of your own position. But for me, I'm not in a rush to sell it. But yeah, Walrus, I would prefer Walrus over Hippo. I would prefer Deepbook over Hippo. And I would even prefer, what's it called? Lofi. I would even prefer Lofi over Hippo, to be quite honest with you. I just think the chart looks a little bit better. It just feels like it's got more momentum. So yeah, I kind of have a priority in terms of my ranking, and Hippo wouldn't be in the top 3. So it's not a bad one. It just wouldn't be in the top 3. So you make your own decision, man. But yeah, it's a decent one. It's a little gamble. Thoughts on Altura? Altura is okay. I think there's better gaming coins. This is kind of old. You know, the momentum's lost a lot of its steam with Altura. You know, you can kind of tell that it's old. The fact that it failed to get anywhere near its all-time highs on the recent pump. You know, that's kind of the test, guys. Like if you're looking at a coin that's maybe been around for some time, it was around in 2021, zoom out, look at the chart. Did it form a new all-time high in November to January time? Okay. If it didn't, then it's not terrible, but you maybe want to be a little bit sus. You want to be a little bit suspect around it. You kind of want to be, you know, a little bit anxious about that. But if it got close to all-time highs, then it's all right. But if it was way off, then you probably want to be a bit concerned, okay? Now, Altura, it wasn't close. It wasn't necessarily way off either, but it wasn't near its all-time high, okay? So this for me, it's lost its steam, it's lost its momentum, and you can see that by the fact that it drew down straight back to where it was essentially on this dump. But if you are wanting a bit of a gamble, okay, a bit of a low cap gaming gamble, this would be one to look at as a potential option. The volume's pretty good. 10 million volume for a 27 million project isn't bad. I'm pretty sure Alex Becker likes this one as well. It's got a well-known brand, I guess. A lot of people know it. I just think there's better options in gaming. My preferred option around the same market cap would be Mavia. And I know the chart doesn't look great on Mavia either, but I just think it's a better project in terms of potential hype that it's going to gather on the next leg up. Okay, and I like the fact that it's a base project. Altura is a BNB project, which isn't necessarily terrible. I just prefer Ethereum projects on this next leg up, or base projects. Paul, how's it going? New intro song. Yeah, I had to get a new intro song. I was kind of forced to because I kept getting copyright strikes from the previous one. VIP member here, great alpha. If you join the group, wow, thank you, man. Appreciate it. And you're absolutely spot on. The Discord is literally the hub of crypto alpha. I mean, not just from me. I mean, my buy alerts, they do very well. I'd say I provide a lot myself, but also the fellow members. Some of the coins these guys get in, they're making easy 10 to 20 X's on some of these memes in literally like a few days. You buy it, a few days later, you're up 10X. You know, that's what they're doing on a routine basis in this group. So I do strongly recommend everyone joins it before the prices go up, because the demand is insane. So I'll be forced to increase the prices at some point. Will I sell all of my Bitcoin this bull run? And what stablecoin do you use when taking profits? Two good questions. So first question, no, I will not sell all of my Bitcoin, but I will sell a lot of it. Okay. And people need to assess this situation based on their own personal situation. But what I'm going to say is there's an extremely strong chance that Bitcoin enters a bear market at some point in the next year. And a usual bear market for Bitcoin will be a 70 to 90% drawdown. So let's just go 80%. An 80% drawdown from 120, I think is going to be around 30K, something like that, right? If 120 was the top. If 150 was the top, then it'll be a bit higher, right? So I think it's very likely we get a big drawdown at some point, probably in 2026. And that could be in line with a larger macro drawdown with the whole market, the stock market, everything else, real estate, everything else, right? Now, with that said, why wouldn't you sell all of your Bitcoin if it's going to dump potentially 70 or 80%? Why wouldn't you sell it all? Well, because we don't know, because it's not a guarantee. Despite it being very likely, it's not a guarantee. And one thing I will say about Bitcoin is don't bet against it. Don't bet against Bitcoin, because eventually you'll be proven wrong. Sure, in short periods, you can be right and it can dump and you can make a lot of money shorting it. But over the long run, Bitcoin is always heading up. And we don't truly know what Bitcoin is yet. And I know that sounds like a stupid statement, but we don't truly know the full potential and purpose of Bitcoin. They're still trying to figure it out as we speak today. So if we were to have kind of like a global meltdown, especially if it was banking related, if there was a banking crisis where banks were going under, banks were failing, a credit crisis, something like that, there could be a massive flock towards Bitcoin because it's sound money, because people understand the rules of it, and it's limited and it's scarce and it can't be manipulated and all of that. And I would point your attention to when the Silicon Valley Bank situation unfolded. What happened to Bitcoin's price during that time? It absolutely exploded. Okay. So it really depends on the nature of the crash that we get. If the crash is banking related, there could actually be the opposite effect that we're all expecting. We're all expecting a bear market, myself included. But if banks are going under left, right, and center, which I'm not saying will happen, okay, I'm not making that statement. But if that were to be the case, I would expect Bitcoin to actually flourish and gather some market share during those times. However, if the crash is recessionary, If it's a recession-based crash, and essentially the consumers are tapped out, I can't see Bitcoin flourishing because people won't have any freaking money. So what are they going to do? Are they going to buy Bitcoin when they can't afford to even pay for the groceries or pay their rent? No. They are going to struggle, and they're going to basically have no disposable income. They're going to live off everything they earn. So that all depends on the nature of the crash. But what I will say is I'll sell a lot of my Bitcoin, but there's a certain percentage I've got stacked away in cold storage, and I'm basically not going to sell it for 10 years. That's my commitment to myself, is I'm not going to sell it for 10 years. The other portion is more of a trading bag, okay, which I kind of time cyclically. So I like the fact they've actually separated it physically with different cold storage wallets. That makes it a lot easier, and I'm more likely to stick to it that way rather than say, oh no, I'm going to use that as my trading bag and merge the two. So I've got a very clear separation between my short-term Bitcoin and my long-term Bitcoin. And then which stablecoin do I use? Usually USDT, but I think USDC is fine. Just don't use any of these smaller ones, because look at what happened with Terra Luna, that stablecoin, right? So don't use any of these algorithmic, smaller, scammy, sketchy stablecoins. Just use the big two, the ones that are regulated and backed. It's happening this week. It's very possible we get a massive run this week. Very, very possible. So yeah, guys, if you're just joining in, I do apologize for my camera not being on today. I had some technical issues, but please do hit the likes on the stream. I'm going to get through all of the comments today, or as many of them as I can. So please do smash the likes. Helps out a ton with the channel. Can Casper retest 8 cents? It's possible, but I give it a very low probability. Not very low, but I give it a low probability. There's very strong support at 10 cents, and it should hold it. It should hold 10 cents. If it doesn't, I'd be a little bit worried about Casper. I'm going to be honest. It should hold this support here. This is very strong support. But yeah, if it doesn't, then maybe that 8 cent region would be the next level. So I'm not going to say it's a very low probability. I don't know if I just said that, but if I did, I kind of take that back. It's a low probability, but it's not very low. But 10 cents is a very, very strong support level. As long as Bitcoin doesn't break down, then I would expect it to hold. But yeah, it can. Anything can happen. I just don't expect it. You think Suie and Tau is worthwhile as a buy right now? As say Ondo and Arrow. Do I think Suie and Tau are as good as a buy as say Ondo and Arrow? No. Not for me, because I stack my Suie below $1 and I stack my Tau below $200. So the two of them I'm up more than 2x on. So I'm in no rush to accumulate more of them. Say Ondo and Arrow, however, I'm not up 2x on those. So it all depends on your personal situation. If you've got no Suie and Tau, then I try and buy them now, probably. But if you've got them and you're following the channel and you're following my VIP alerts, you're already stacked on those two. Now you're looking at the mid caps as the potential buys. So it all depends on your personal situation and circumstances. If you're already stacked on Suie and Tau, there's no need to buy any more. Okay, the train's already kind of left the station, especially on Suie. I mean, the train left the station on Suie a long time ago. Anyone buying now, it's fine. You're still going to make money, but you shouldn't be buying now unless you have conservative goals this bull run. If you're expecting a 10x and you're buying Suie now, just crazy. Okay, because it's unlikely to do that. It's not impossible, but it's unlikely to do that. If you're expecting a 10x, you should be buying, say, Ondo and Arrow right now, as opposed to Suie, and probably even as opposed to Tau. Tau could maybe pull a 10x if we have a very AI dominant run, but Suie definitely I don't see doing a 10x. And look, it's within my interests to hype up Suie as much as I can. If I was any other YouTuber, not all of them, okay, some of them are good, but if I was 90% of other YouTubers, I would be telling everyone to go all in on Suie, even now. But I'm not doing that because I understand that it's already up a lot. Okay, the train has already left the station and you're trying to catch it not at the final destination, but it's only like a few hours away from the destination, if that makes sense. The train left 10 hours away, 10 hours ago, and there's only 4 hours left of the train journey with Suie. If that analogy makes any sense. Hey man, what's your bearish, bullish prediction for Render? Render, I would say bearish 5x, bullish 12x maybe. That'll be my bull case. Is today the Q&A? Absolutely, man. Get your questions in. Hey, VIP member here, what do you think about the Japanese economy? Doesn't sound good. What, you mean with regards to the interest rates and everything? The carry trade? The currency? You should elaborate, bro. What? Are you talking about the currency? Are you talking about the growth? The kind of constraints on growth? Like what are you talking about exactly? But yeah, I mean, Japan, it's been a topic of a lot of economists' discussion, the last few months and last year. But despite everything that went on previously, we still managed to get up, right? So it's something to pay some attention to, but it's not something to hyperfixate on. There's more important countries in the world than Japan. And Japan has its own issues with population and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a unique country. It's a very, very old country. So they got no workforce and all of this because of the declining birth rates. But it is good to look at these things. I don't ignore them. Smash the likes, folks. Absolutely, guys. Appreciate it. Hey, Archie, in your view, which has a stronger potential for a 10x return, Arrow or Say? Great question, man, because it makes me think. Probably Say slightly edges it. Just because Say is a layer 1, Arrow is a DEX or like a DeFi project. So I think like a layer 1 always has more potential to get to those billions and billions in market cap. So if we just take a look at the two. So what's Arrow at? Arrow is at a 500 million market cap. Say is at a 1 billion market cap. So Say is double the size of Arrow, but it's a layer 1. So you got to remember layer 1s generally have a lot more potential to get into the top 50 than a layer 2 or a layer 3 or any other type of crypto, right? So layer 1 chains always have the highest chance of getting into the top 50. DEXs can as well, don't get me wrong. Last cycle, we had PancakeSwap and Uniswap in the top 50. So don't get me wrong, DEXs can get up there, but layer 1s generally have the edge when it comes to potential, when it comes to how high you can scale those gains. There's like a limitless amount of X's with a layer 1 because we've seen in crypto, layer 1s get into the hundreds of billions. I mean, look at Ethereum, 300 billion right now. And it's lower than its all-time high. Look at BNB, 90 billion. Look at Solana, 86 billion. Cardano, literally like a ghost chain right now. No one's even talking about it or using it. 25 billion. We're not seeing any DEXs at those valuations, okay? So layer 1s always have way more potential. So I would say if I'm going to give the edge to one of those coins doing a 10x, I would go with Say. But both of them have a very strong chance of doing that this cycle. What are my thoughts on Metis? I haven't checked in on Metis in a while. What's it doing? 120 million market cap. The all-time chart doesn't look terrible. Does not look terrible. It's on Binance and Coinbase. It's an ETH layer 2. The thing with Ethereum layer 2s is we've got Base. Is any layer 2 really going to compete with Base? That's kind of like, I was thinking about getting some layer 2 exposure, and then I just kind of came to the conclusion that Base is just going to essentially dominate this layer 2 battle. Base is just going to get a ton of the market share with all the layer 2s, and they've kind of just won. because you can't beat Coinbase. And the base chain, in terms of like TVL, in terms of transactions and all of that, it's dominating all these other layer 2s. So Metis could be a good kind of swing trade, I guess, when Ethereum pumps. But all things considered, Ethereum's had a massive move in the last month. Metis is only up 30%. So that's a little bit concerning. That's a little bit concerning. When you've basically got the layer 1 itself outperforming the layer 2, you've got to be a little bit concerned. Metis is supposed to be the beta play to Ethereum, yet Ethereum's outperforming the beta play. And this is a general point that I want to really raise to you guys and make it very crystal clear. Beta plays don't always outperform the main coin, the layer 1. I saw it with Suie. Everyone was telling me, get into the beta plays on Suie, get into this, get into that, get into this, get into that. And I can tell you, almost all the beta plays that people shared with me, if you just held Suie, you would have been better off 99% of the time. Short term, mid-term, and long-term, Suie outperformed the vast majority of them. So I'm not always too convinced with the beta plays. I just think either hold the thing itself or find another coin that's a smaller market cap that isn't a beta play. Because beta plays are very hit or miss. Sure, you can make a ton of money with them sometimes. I've got a beta play on Casper, okay? Caspi. That's my beta play on Casper. So I'm not saying they're completely useless, but what I am saying is don't bet on beta plays too much. Just focus on the real thing itself. And don't always expect these beta plays to be like guaranteed multipliers on the core project itself. Because quite often, the actual main layer 1 outperforms a lot of the beta plays. So beta plays are just short-term plays, mainly for trades. They're not always good long-term holds. Now, talking about Caspi, this is one of the few beta plays which I actually hold in my portfolio. And it's because I think Casper is going to make a big run up to 30 cents at some point. It's at 10 cents right now. That's a 3x. And you've got to think, if Casper does a 3x, what are some of these ridiculously low meme coins going to do? My personal favorite is Caspi. It's a 5 million market cap. I think it could easily do a 10, 20x if Ethereum does a 3x. So that's why I picked up a really small position of Caspi in my portfolio, because I think if there's a coin on Casper that's going to do that, it's going to be Caspi, because the name, they've got MEXC listing. Okay, Nacho, which everyone goes on about, it hasn't even got MEXC. If you haven't got a MEXC listing, I'm not even going to pay attention, because MEXC is one of the biggest exchanges with retail investors, particularly with memes. So, look, don't get me wrong, there are some decent beta plays out there, but Metis, it's just not been outperforming Ethereum in the last month, and that's just a little bit concerning for me. You prefer both Deep and Walrus compared to Cetus? 10x would be a 8.5 billion for Walrus compared to 1.5 billion for Cetus. Yeah, Cetus is good as well. You know, I don't know, man. For whatever reason, I do prefer Walrus and DeepBook. I just think they're higher quality projects. Walrus is backed itself by Miston Labs. And was DeepBook backed by them as well? I think it's more about the backers. DeepBook and Walrus, I think they're more heavily backed than Cetus. I think that's maybe why I edge them, but they're all good. They're all going to do well because Suie's the chosen chain of this cycle. So pretty much any beta play on Suie will run. It's just a matter of risk to reward at the end of the day. You're risking so much more getting into a beta play. Why not just hold the real thing? Why not just hold the real thing? And that's kind of the situation that I'm in. The beta plays on Suie, you shouldn't go too heavy into them. Just make them very small percentages of your portfolio. What are my thoughts on Kadena? The chart doesn't look great, and I'm pretty sure, didn't some of the team members leave or something? I mean, I don't know, man. I'm not a massive fan of Kadena. I think Casper is a lot better as a project. It's still down 98%. I mean, I'm not gonna ever buy a layer 1 if it's down 98%. The only exception to buy a coin that's down 98% is maybe like a meme coin. Or a coin when it's in, the bear market. Like Solana last bull run, that was down like freaking 97% or something in the bear market. But it was a bear market. This is a bull market we're in right now. And Cadena is still down 98% in a bull market. Ridiculous. Stupid. Why would you buy that? I'm not calling you stupid. I'm calling the project stupid, okay? With ETH looking to make a move, do you have any interest in layer 2s such as ARB, OPS? No. I mean, all these layer 2s, man, their charts don't look good. They're all getting beaten out of the park by base. The best bet on Ethereum, hands down, the best beta play on Ethereum is just to go for Aerodrome. That is the best play because it's the DEX for base. It's the DeFi hub for base. Not just the DEX, it's literally everything. All the DeFi on base, liquidity, all that stuff. Market maker, the liquidity hub, all that stuff is through Arrow. So yeah, rather than buying one of these layer 2s that's kind of on the down, like no one cares about Matic anymore, do they? Who's talking about Matic? A ton of these layer 2s are just losing market share. They're just losing attention. I would, instead of buying all of those, I would just buy Aerodrome. Quite frankly, that's what I would do. Because Aerodrome, like I said, is the DeFi hub for base. If base had a token, it would be in the top 10. Okay, if base had a token, it would probably, we'd be looking at it and it would be like Suie this run. It would have been one of the chosen projects of this cycle. It would have been one of the ones that had the biggest run if base had a token, but they don't for regulatory reasons and all of that, right? Because they got Coinbase stock. So if base did have a token, it would probably be at 20 billion market cap right now. So why not buy the liquidity hub on base? That's kind of my view when it comes to Ethereum beta plays, is just go for Arrow. I highly think we will see a Bitcoin all-time high in 1 or 2 days. I agree. But isn't it pretty quiet? I mean, across YouTube and X right now, there's only 310 watching on this stream. We got all-time highs potentially in a couple days. Where is everyone? It's super, super quiet at the top right now. So it's kind of eerie. It's kind of weird. And it's not just my channel. Like, my channel is doing pretty well. A ton of other influencers, their views have dropped off massive compared to like a year ago. Do I see ADA making moves? It will make some form of a move, but nothing significant. By July? So you mean in the next 10 days or by the end of July? Bro, do you know what month we're in? You know that June comes before July. July is not in 10 days. Just to clarify that, guys. July is not in 10 days. So maybe just whip out a calendar and you'll see that July is in fact not in 10 days. I really like your analysis and views. Quick question. I hold some crap coins bought last year and are down 50%. Would you advise to keep them or sell them off and cut losses? It depends on the coins themselves. Depends on the coins. I mean, what you deem a crap coin, I might not deem a crap coin. So you'll have to tell me the coins, man. But quite often, I think it's probably the best bet to just cut your losses if you are holding actual crap. Depends what you mean by crap coin. Some people think that Solana is a crap coin. Some people think that Casper is a crap coin. So it's all in the eye of the beholder. But if you're holding real bad coins, then I would say cut your losses. What's the point in holding them? It's like a sunk cost fallacy, right? People hold a coin that they're down on with the intention of selling at break even. You hear it all the time, right? I'm just going to hold on to it. And then when it breaks even, then I'm going to sell. And then you tell them, So you're going to wait 2 or 3 months just to break even, when if you just swap the coin to something else, you could potentially 10x your money and wait way more than what that crap coin is going to make you. So it's a mindset fallacy. It's a logical fallacy. So I encourage everyone to completely eradicate this belief set of, oh, I bought this coin, I'm down loads, I'm just going to wait until it breaks even and then I'm going to sell it. Get that mindset out of your head. That is an invalid mindset. That is not logical. That's a mindset of an investor who thinks of emotions. Get it out your mindset. Get it out your mind. It's all about being in the best moving asset. You've got to constantly ask yourself, when you look at your coins, are these the best coins for the next run? Am I positioned in the best coins? If the answer is no, you ought to sell them, irrespective of if you're up, if you're down, if you're sideways, or if the project's almost rugged. You ought to sell a coin if you don't think it's one of the best moving assets to have, if you don't think it's good. So you know the question, you know the answer yourself, bro. You know that they're crap. You should probably get rid of them if they are crap. Gave a like, and hearing you bullish again is great. You always speak with what you think personally. Thank you, bro. Look, guys, I'm bullish, but I'm not a moon boy bullish, okay? Have you checked out Alchie? Yes, I like it. Appreciate the donation. I think it's a good project. But it's risky. Man, I'm probably going to be doing a VIP call at some point today. So, if the members are up for it, we'll probably be doing a VIP voice chat. So get yourselves in that VIP group. The link's in the description. As I say, there's a huge influx of people right now because of the value in the group. The reviews are all 5 stars. The results speak for themselves. So there's a lot of people trying to join. And when it gets to the point where there's too many to keep up with, I will be forced to increase the price to slow down the growth. Kind of how the Federal Reserve increased interest rates to slow down the growth of inflation and the economy. I'll be doing that essentially with the price of the VIP group. So I highly recommend you join now to avoid that price hike, which you'd be subject to if you join at a later date. Whichever price you get in at, you're locked in for life at that price. But one thing I would also say is if you're an existing member, the prices for the yearly, the lifetime, all those other options, they will also go up. So you'll be subject to pay more if you do change your membership option pledge. Okay, so highly recommend people just go on lifetime or yearly if you can afford it from the get-go to save yourself a ton of money in the long run, right? But the reviews speak for themselves, guys. All 5 stars, over 30 reviews. 33 reviews, every single one of them 5 stars. I mean, go read them for yourself, okay? And yeah, the group's super active right now. People are sharing projects on a day-to-day basis in the chats. And I'm looking forward to getting on and discussing the projects and the strategy with the members today on a voice chat. Caspi is the best meme I've ever seen. Amazing story and great memes. I agree. Caspi is for sure the best bet on Casper. The best bet on Casper is Caspi. There's some other memes on Casper, but like I said, either the meme is just crap, like stupid name, like just a stupid ass name, or there's no listings. The team for the meme is just super broke. They got no money. You know, they're tight asses. They don't want to spend any money on listings. There's nothing worse than a team in crypto that's a bunch of tight asses. I mean, it just does my head in. I just don't make a project, okay? If you're not going to spend money on listings, just don't make a project. I think that would be better for the whole of crypto. It's just frustrating when you see a project, it looks good, and they've just got no money. You know, it's like trying to launch a business when you got no money. It just doesn't make sense. Make the money first, and then make the company. Like how many businesses run with zero? You need some startup money. I'm not saying you need loads, but if you're going to start a business, you need some startup costs to pay. You need to be able to maybe pay the rent if you've got a store. You need to buy your inventory. So you need some money to start a business. Just like if you're starting a crypto, you probably should have some money. I'm not saying you need mega millions, but a few 50K here and there to pay for some listings, it helps. So don't get me wrong, Kaspi, they've got a lot to improve when it comes to the listings. They've only got a few, but it's better than some of the other ones I've seen. They've still got a long way to go. I think they need another 5 to 10 listings if they really want to have longevity, but it's better than some of the others I've seen. So it's just worth, throwing in for the average person like $50. See what happens. That's money that a lot of people maybe can afford to lose. Not everyone. Some people can't even afford to lose $50, but I imagine a lot of the viewers, $50, it's an amount of money, a lot of people can afford to lose on a crypto. But if you can't, then put less. And if you can afford to lose more than that, then maybe put a little bit more. It's all up to you. Is Kaspi from Solana? No, it's a Casper. It's a Casper meme coin. It's a KRC20 meme coin. You can buy on Mexi. It's not on Solana. Be a bit weird if a Casper meme was on Solana. That would kind of invalidate the whole idea of building on Casper, right? You need to check out Collat. I faded it? I didn't even see your message, bro. I didn't fade it. I just didn't see it. Is this the one you mean? Collaterize? Collaterize? RWA. Gamification and airdrops? What the hell? Empowers token holders with governance rights to influence key decisions. Okay. I don't want to read all this esoteric jargon and hogwash. Let's just see what the website says. Has it even got a website? Where's the website? Website white paper. They don't even have a website. They've just got a white paper? Surely not. Yeah, man, I'll check it out. Look, I'm not going to do a full in-depth coin review on the live stream. I don't think people are here for that, but I'll check it out in my spare time, man. Yeah, retail isn't back yet. Retail may never come back to the level that they were here in 2021, let's be honest. But they don't need to. This is not the cycle of retail, guys. People need to wake up to that. This is a institutional driven cycle. This is not a retail driven cycle. This is all driven by the big boys. And that's just the new normal here with crypto. Crypto used to be a fully retail thing, but now it's largely driven by the institutions, and you just got to get with the times. Could you see a slow sideways summer and then ramp up to all-time highs in the fall? It's possible, but when you look at liquidity, when you look at the macro, all of it to me, and when you look at the Bitcoin chart, all of it to me is signaling that we go up in the next few weeks. That's what it's signaling to me. And then we go down in the back end of the year. In the fall and the winter, I think we go down, potentially. Because a lot of the current effects of tariffs and all these things, they are lagging indicators, that they have a lagging effect. So we don't have the true picture here of what tariffs are going to do to the economy. We're seeing actually inflation tick up with trueflation. Obviously, CPI is like a month behind, so we haven't got a catch up with CPI yet. And CPI is heavily manipulated as well. But we're actually seeing inflation head up, guys. I mean, look at inflation in the last month. Inflation bottomed out around 1.35%. It hit 2%, guys. It hit 2%. So inflation is creeping back up. And that's because of the tariffs, because tariffs cause price increases in the short term. Because obviously it gets passed on to the consumer. How else are companies going to deal with a tariff? Are they going to take a cut in earnings? Probably not. They're going to pass it on to the consumer by increasing their prices. So I think we see a weaker economy in the back end of the year. I've said this for a long time. I think the tariffs have exacerbated that. The fact that Jerome Powell is not going to cut is probably going to exacerbate that as well, because you've got this massive kind of restriction on growth, having rates this high. I mean, you can't have rates this high for a long time, and they have been this high for a long time. And they're going to stay high for a long time as well, because now we're only getting like one rate cut priced into the market. Some people are saying no rate cuts this year. So these pressures are going to have a restrictive effect on the economy. They're going to potentially weaken the labor market. They're going to definitely weaken the property market if that hasn't already been seen before. I mean, I haven't really checked the property prices lately and the volume of purchases in property, but I would imagine that it's gonna fall. Because you can't. No one's gonna buy property with interest rates super high. They're gonna wait. So I would imagine a lot of these things are going to continue to weaken as long as rates stay high and as long as tariffs stay in place. And those two things are not good for the economy. So I think we have more of a short-term relief rally as we get all this good news, as we get all this fugazi, this illusion all come out, as we get liquidity injected. I think we have a quick rally into the summer, and then it's all done and dusted, in the fall/winter. That's kind of what I expect, but it's crypto. No one truly knows, right? We're all kind of guessing to some extent here. Just some people are better guessers than others. Hit the like. Thank you. Altcoin, it's good. It's good. I wouldn't be buying too much now. The opportunity to buy Altcoin was a while back. Yeah, this is all a illusion manipulated pump. I don't use that word manipulated lightly. I know a lot of people in crypto, they use the word manipulated to everything. Oh, it was manipulated. That's manipulation. No, I don't do that. Most of the time when people say things are manipulated, they're wrong. But this pump, especially, I think is largely driven from, you could say, liquidity manipulation, liquidity injection. That's what I think this pump is largely derived from. And I would say there's a sense of organicness, if that's even a word. There's a sense of this pump being inorganic. So, very artificial, very manipulated. That's kind of what I sense. And yeah, that's why I don't think it's going to be the longest lasting pump in the world. I think we've got a couple months probably of parabolic price action, and things go freaking crazy, and everyone loses their heads. Everyone's heads go in the sky. And then everyone gets a humbling and a reality check in the back end of the year when the market crashes. So that's what I'm preparing for. But obviously anything can happen. So I'm preparing for everything really. But I kind of have my probabilities laid out, and we'll see if they become a reality. And we'll be discussing these things on a daily basis, obviously in the VIP group, in the voice chats, in the text channels. I send out updates in the announcements channel, so you'll be pinged with any key alerts, key updates from me. Whenever I buy a coin, you'll be getting an alert. A lot of people have been asking me, Archie, how frequent are the buy alerts? They can be as frequent as 10 or 20 of them a week, or as infrequent as maybe one a week. It really depends on the market and how much of a buying mood I'm in versus a wait and see mood. Okay, so right now, I've told you my plans. My plans are stacking the mid caps, and I've got a few new mid caps actually on my radar. So there's a chance I actually buy a new coin in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that, a potential new buy alert. I'm muted. Can you hear me now? Just say yes in the chat if you can hear me now. Okay. So I assume it was interrupted as I was answering that question. Did you hear my response to the arc block question? Yeah, I was just saying arc block is nothing special in my view. It's not terrible, but that pump it had was very much a manipulated pump by a lot of influencers, an orchestrated pump by a lot of influencers. I'm not going to name them, but it's just a crypto for building blockchain applications like dApps. It's just nothing special. It doesn't excite me. There's 100 projects similar to this, probably, but it will pump. It will probably pump on the next leg up. I just think there's probably 50 to 100 other projects I would prefer over this if I was going to buy in this market currently. So those are my views on ArcBlock. Appreciate you guys all watching the stream. How many X's could Caspi do? Maybe whatever Casper does, maybe 5X. So if Casper pulled to 5X from here, then Caspi could 25X. That's kind of the ballpark I'm looking at. Yeah, this pump here on ArcBlock was very much a manipulated pump. But guys, appreciate you all watching. I'll see many of you over in the VIP Discord for a chat about the markets. I look forward to that. We can discuss the cyclical theories. We can discuss the macro, exit strategy, all of that. I'm looking forward to it, guys. Appreciate you all. I'll see many of you over in the VIP. And if you have any questions about the VIP, drop me an email. There is an email address in the description. You can ask any questions over there. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next stream, which will be tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. Appreciate you all. Goodbye.